when that woman stormed onto our lawn screaming, "I'm calling the police on your wife," and actually started dialing 911 right there in front of her brand new house. I figured, yeah, just another unhinged neighbor, nothing to stress over. But then my wife, calm as ever, just looked at her and said, "Please do. I'd love to meet the local officers." And in that moment, I knew this wasn't going to end well for that Karen. See, she had no clue she was about to call the cops on someone who could, with a single signature, send those same officers to federal prison. But before I dive into how this all unfolded, let me be straight with you. Stories like this take a ton of digging, fact-checking, and hours of work to get right. If you like watching entitled people get their comeuppance as much as I do, that little thanks button down there really helps me keep bringing you the best karma stories out there. Even $1 fuels this grind. Anyway, I'm Jackson Mercer, and 3 months ago, my wife Sarah and I thought we'd made the smartest move of our lives, relocating to Maple Ridge Estates, this upscale, quiet suburban neighborhood in Richmond, Virginia. Picture colonial-style homes with manicured lawns, kids biking down tree-lined streets, neighbors waving from porches. What we didn't expect was to be dragged into a legal nightmare that would rip apart that dream and expose the biggest HOA fraud scheme the area had ever seen. Sarah, well, everyone calls her that. It's short for Sarah Finna, had this way of talking about her job that should have tipped me off early. She said she did judicial consulting for federal cases, which sounded fancy but vague enough I never pressed. As a tech consultant myself, I get that some jobs are confidential. But what caught my eye was how she'd scan every room she walked into like she was sizing up threats I couldn't see. And those late-night calls where she'd mention sentencing guidelines and jurisdiction, I shrugged it off as lawyer talk. But looking back, she held an authority I never understood. Moving day was perfect, early spring, sunny, the moving truck right on time. Our new colonial was everything we wanted, for bedrooms, 2-car garage, and a backyard ready for the family we planned. The neighborhood seemed peaceful, well-kept yards, friendly vibe. That illusion lasted exactly 2 hours and 15 minutes. Enter Magnolia Peton Cross. Yeah, that's the name she gave me, though it sounded like something out of soap opera with that hyphenated last name and all. She marched onto our lawn in some designer tracksuit that probably cost more than our mortgage, carrying a leather folder and wearing giant sunglasses that screamed, "I never hear no." Her silver hair was flawless despite the breeze, and her whole vibe said we were personally ruining her world. She wasted no time. "Excuse me," she said with that fake sweet but condescending tone. "I need to speak with the homeowners about serious violations on this property." I was helping the movers carry boxes and paused, wiping my hands on my jeans, try to figure out what this overdressed woman wanted. I introduced myself. "Jackson Mercer, and this is my wife, Sarah. We just bought this house last month." "What violations?" Her smile? Like a shark before it bites. "I'm Magnolia Peton Cross, president of the Maple Ridge Homeowners Association. Frankly, I'm shocked your realtor didn't inform you about our community standards." She told me our moving operation violated several critical neighborhood rules. I raised an eyebrow because rules about moving into your own house. Come on, what specific ordinances? I asked, tried to keep it polite. "We followed the HOA packets guidelines." She pulled out her folder and read from a document that looked official, but something was off. According to some Section 7, our moving truck placement blocked scenic views of neighbors and was an eyesore, violating aesthetic standards. I blinked. "Ma'am, the truck's in our driveway. It'll be gone in a day. How's that breaking any rules?" Her polite mask slipped. "Maple Ridge Estates demands the highest elegant standards. Your move must finish by 2 p.m. and all boxes removed from public view immediately." Just then, Sarah appeared, moving with this quiet strength I hadn't fully appreciated yet. She didn't jump into the fray, but stood back, watching Magnolia like a scientist checking out a specimen. Magnolia rattled off more rules about noise, trucks, weekend moves. But instead of getting defensive, Sarah asked sharp questions about enforcement authority, due process, hearings, appeals, things no casual homeowner would know. "Mrs. Peton Cross," Sarah said, polite but professional, Could you show me the legal basis your HOA has to impose time restrictions on homeowners moving in? Magnolia's irritation grew, like Sarah was just another clueless housewife. These are complex community issues, ma'am. I don't expect you to understand, but we have full authority to enforce standards. Sarah's stance shifted more pointed, more like building a legal case than just asking. Are property owners entitled to hearings before penalties? What's the appeals process? Magnolia dodged specifics, talking about community harmony instead. Look, your move must comply, or we'll take official action to protect our neighborhood's reputation. I was ready to lose it, but Sarah stayed calm and turned the tables. That's fascinating. Tell me about this official action. What enforcement powers do you claim? Her calmness rattled Magnolia, who tried to recover. We have procedures for non-compliance and will use all remedies. Then Sarah whipped out her phone and started photographing every document Magnolia had, shooting them like evidence. Magnolia got nervous. I'm just making sure we have a complete record, Sarah explained. Proper documentation prevents problems later. Instead of backing down, Magnolia escalated. We've begun documenting violations on your property. We have ways of dealing with uncooperative residents. And for the next week, Magnolia was relentless, showing up multiple times daily with new complaints. Lawn needed professional treatment. Mailbox had to be moved 3 inches. Moving boxes visible through windows created an eyesore. Each visit was the same: official documents, absurd demands, threats of formal action. What baffled me most was how she kept inventing new rules tailored exactly to whatever we were doing. But Sarah? She treated it like a research project, documenting every threat, every fake paper, asking detailed questions about legal precedents and jurisdiction far beyond any consultant's scope. Then came Thursday, when Magnolia brought so-called formal violation notices with fines $200 a day for everything from lawn care to window coverings. The documents looked real at a glance. Seals, legal jargon designed to intimidate. But Sarah, with a quick glance, spotted forgeries, wrong seals, forged signatures, fake language. How do you know all this? I asked. Sarah just smiled. Government work. You pick things up. Still, something about her confidence didn't quite match the vague consulting title she gave me. I started suspecting she had a more direct role in the legal system than I realized. Then, our mail carrier Jim Ben on this route 15 years came by while Sarah was gardening. He stopped, straightened up, and said, "Good morning, Your Honor." Sarah smiled and said, "Morning, Jim." But I caught the respect in his eyes, like he was greeting a judge. When I asked Sarah about it, she just said Jim knew she worked for the federal government. But that phrase, Your Honor, kept echoing in my head. By Friday, Magnolia's harassment turned into stalking, showing up randomly, photographing the house, spying on deliveries, even questioning drivers about our packages. She announced a neighborhood safety committee to force us into mandatory homeowner education just to be accepted. Her biggest mistake: underestimating who she was messing with. When she threatened to take the matter to the highest courts, Sarah gave me this sly smile, like she knew exactly what that meant. She made a phone call starting with, "This is Judge Mercer's office," which I assumed was some admin thing for her consulting gig. But now I realize consultants don't have judicial offices and don't get called judge. I was too caught up with Magnolia's insanity to connect the dots about Sarah's real job. Over the weekend, Magnolia planned a community action initiative to strong-arm us. Monday, she showed up with a final notice, a document even more official-looking, threatening immediate legal action if we didn't comply with expensive demands. Lawn care, mailbox move, window changes, education classes. "Mr. Mercer," she declared with theatrical flair, "you have 72 hours to comply or face legal proceedings." I was shocked, but Sarah? She dissected the document like a pro, pointing out formatting errors, fake seals, procedural mistakes. "How do you know this?" I asked again. "Federal court experience," she said, calm but commanding. Magnolia snapped back, "I don't care about your amateur legal analysis. We protect this community and have ways of dealing with non-compliant residents." That was her last threat. Little did she know she'd just crossed the line into criminal behavior. Tuesday morning, she came armed with evidence-gathering equipment, camera, measuring tape, clipboard claiming authority to inspect. I was inside with Sarah when I heard shouting outside. Magnolia was rifling through her mailbox, yes, pulling out our mail-making notes. She's tampering with federal mail, Sarah said quietly, but with that unmistakable professional edge. Sarah stepped outside, stood right behind Magnolia, and said, "Step away from the mailbox. You're committing federal crimes." Magnolia tried to assert her HOA president rights, but Sarah calmly explained. Mail tampering carries up to 5 years in prison. Document forgery and harassment of federal officials are serious federal offenses. For the first time, Magnolia looked uncertain. "You can't threaten me," she said weakly. "Mail tampering? That's federal," Sarah replied. The weight of those words hit Magnolia hard. Then, Magnolia did the unthinkable. She screamed, "I'm calling the police. Arrest your wife for harassment and trespassing," and dialed 911 like she was calling an airstrike. Sarah just stood there, watching the irony unfold. Magnolia calling law enforcement on someone who outranked them all. 15 minutes later, 3 patrol cars rolled up, lights flashing, but no sirens. This was no ordinary neighbor dispute. Captain Williams stepped out serious, professional, clearly briefed. When he saw Sarah, his whole demeanor shifted to profound respect. "Judge Mercer," he said, "hat off, we received a complaint about harassment. I understand there may be confusion." The word judge hit Magnolia like a bomb. Her face cycled through confusion, disbelief, horror. "Judges don't live in suburbs," she whispered. "This must be a scam." Captain Williams, treating Sarah like the high authority she was, asked how to proceed. Officers took positions not to arrest, but to secure a federal official. Sarah pulled out her badge. "I'm the Honorable Serafina Mercer, United States District Judge." The badge wasn't just a deed, it was lifetime constitutional authority, power to interpret laws and send people to prison. Magnolia's face went white. "Federal judges don't just live like normal people," she stammered. Captain Williams explained Sarah's position, her Senate confirmation, her legal decisions cited nationwide. Magnolia's world crumbled. Every threat, fake document, and crime she committed was done in front of someone who could prosecute her. Sarah's documentation uncovered mail tampering, forgery, fraud, extortion, federal crimes with serious sentences. "Mrs. Peton Cross," Captain Williams said politely, "you're under arrest for mail tampering, harassment of a federal official, document forgery, and fraud. You have the right to remain silent." As handcuffs clicked, Magnolia begged, "This isn't fair. I didn't know she was a judge. Real authority doesn't need fake docs or threats. It speaks softly, asks precise questions, and knows the law inside out." The investigation revealed Magnolia had been running this scam in 3 neighborhoods, extorting thousands from scared families. 6 months later, Maple Ridge is peaceful again. The real HOA was reformed with proper legal structure, and property values soared, especially after word spread a federal judge lived here. Magnolia got 2 years in federal prison, had to pay restitution, and is banned from running any HOA ever again. Her house was foreclosed, and she had to relocate, reputation in ruins. Living with Sarah has changed me. Those late-night calls, her quiet strength, it all makes sense now. She's not just protecting our neighborhood. She's upholding the rights of everyone who walks into her courtroom. The moral? Never threaten someone without knowing what they really do. Magnolia learned the hard way that real power isn't about fake documents or petty rules. It's a lifetime appointment to uphold the Constitution. This story spread fast, sparking FBI investigations that busted a whole network of fake HOAs across 3 states, preying on homeowners' ignorance. Sarah couldn't prosecute directly, but her evidence and testimony shattered the entire fraud ring. Law schools now study this case as a perfect example of white-collar crime and community fraud. Seeing Sarah in her element, calm, methodical, unshakable, was like watching justice incarnate. Our neighborhood transformed. Once we knew a federal judge lived here, homeowners took pride, and real community standards replaced empty threats. Jim, the mail carrier, later told me he'd seen Sarah in court years ago. She was the fairest judge he'd ever met. Magnolia never imagined she'd pick a fight with someone holding real authority, someone whose decisions affect millions. This whole experience is a powerful reminder. True authority commands respect quietly, demands facts, and lets the law speak. Now, I want to hear from you. Have you ever witnessed someone abusing power with fake authority? Or maybe experienced a situation where real justice showed up unexpectedly? Drop your thoughts below. Let's talk about what justice really means in our communities.